taking you in this moment.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. My name is tonibryanne, and in today's video we'll be discussing the toxic beauty standards of the early 2000s and how it may be affecting us today. In this video I will be having a special guest who was a former prospect Dallas Cowboys cheerleader who was on the show, and she was kicked off the show for being too stalky, something that she can't control. Before we get into this video, you guys know I always love to begin with a quote, and today's quote is, "I am worthy of living a life filled with joy, abundance, and purpose." I hope that adds some positivity into your day and a little bit of self-thought and self-reflection. So I really want to start off with saying why I found this video to be so important to film, especially now, and that is due to all of the beauty standards from the 2000s, the early 2000s should I say, that we all said were so harmful and that we would never get back to a place where that became the beauty standard again. I feel as if we're starting to get back to where we were back in that time. The only difference is that there are new words being used, such as wellness, clean eating, and healthy habits that aren't necessarily healthy. Why this is coming back, you might ask? There has been a new glorification of the early 2000s that I would say began back in 2020. Before I start talking about 2020, please do understand I am not taking away from the millions of lives lost because of the pandemic and the millions of people that may have almost lost their lives or suffered with the virus. I'm mainly honing in on the social media aspect of the pandemic during that time frame. So let's throw it back to 2020, where fast fashion really blew up. I would say specifically Shein. Shopping hauls were on the horizon because nobody had anything else to do and they were just buying a bunch of clothes. The stimulus checks probably were helping, and a lot of people were trying to start their influencer journey, so they started buying a whole bunch of clothing. I also think that with the pandemic, people started reminiscing on old times, which was in fact the early 2000s, when times were simpler, because we all know a lot of our lives were flipped upside down due to the pandemic. And I think that resulted in a lot of people reverting back to the early 2000s looks, but in their own ways. Now, this has to do with fashion and aesthetic, I would mostly say. On TikTok, people were starting to use flip phones. They wanted to watch the early 2000s movies such as Mean Girls. They were trying out different hairstyles that resembled the Y2K movement that was so popular in the early 2000s. And of course, fashion. With fashion definitely ties in the problematic aspects of the early 2000s, because the clothes that were popular really looked best on very thin bodies. To be a 00 was considered an accomplishment. And in terms of fashion, that goes with the low-rise jeans, the extreme crop tops, mini skirts, mini dresses. Everything was just teeny tiny, meant for a very specific body type. With so many glorifying the early 2000s culture, they tend to forget the harms that came with that culture and how badly it primarily affected young girls and women. What we're now beginning to see is the fall of the BBL movement unintentionally. If you look at some of your favorite celebrities that once were thick, they are now extremely thin. And the big family that I'm going to speak about is the Kardashian family. Kim Kardashian and Khloe Kardashian are now very, very skinny compared to what they looked like about 5 to 10 years ago. 5 to 10 years ago in pop culture, thick was in, and everybody wanted to have a voluptuous body, big butt, curves, big chest, just looking like a video vixen. But that is slowly changing. A lot of these celebrities are trying to look a certain way within a short period of time that is not easily attainable, or should I say not attainable at all, if you're just working out and eating healthy. And that opted into a lot of celebrities allegedly taking extreme measures and using prescribed drugs to get there. So I am unsure if you guys have heard about the viral prescription drug that is used typically for people with type 2 diabetes, now being used among the top elites and socialites. So celebrities are now allegedly using this medication to lose weight at an alarming rate. So with this drug now being out in the streets and people are talking about it, it has become so widely used for the wrong reasons that people with type 2 diabetes are not able to get their prescription because there is now a shortage. So I'm going to explain to you guys what this exact prescribed drug does for somebody that is trying to lose weight. I am not going to say what the prescription is because I do not want to further promote the usage of it, but I'm sure you can find it by a simple Google search or TikTok search. The purpose of this drug is to help people to feel less hungry and more full without eating. eating. But the issue is that it makes you feel full when you're not necessarily full, and that's how you drop the weight like crazy. And just from the promotion of this prescription drug and seeing how these celebrities are getting so skinny, it brought me back to the early 2000s and the extreme diet cultures that were placed upon us back then. Aside from celebrities allegedly using a prescription drug to enhance their weight loss, we have to talk about what's being promoted on TikTok to the general public. One thing I've really noticed that has gotten popular recently is the whole wellness movement. To me, the wellness movement is just camouflage of the diet culture that was so significant back in the early 2000s. The wellness movement promotes clean eating, working out, drinking your greens, taking your daily supplements. All of these things are absolutely amazing, and I think that we all should work out. We should drink and eat our greens. We should be taking our daily supplements. But these women that are promoting it are not eating exactly how we should be eating in a healthy way. Now, it's not all of these women, but if you see the way some of these women eat or say that they eat, it's not very healthy. It's almost as if you're not eating a granola bar for breakfast every day, you're not eating correctly. And a lot of people are starting to feel uncomfortable with eating. The promotion of drinking water and eating your veggies and meal prepping and eating foods filled with protein or just going straight cold turkey and becoming a vegan. All of these things are constantly being promoted.
What's your wellness routine look like now?
I eat dinner early in the evening. I do a nice intermittent fast. I usually eat something about 12. And in the morning, I'll have some things that won't spike my blood sugar, right? So I have coffee, but I really like soup for lunch. I have bone broth for lunch a lot of the days. Try to do 1 hour of movement. So I'll either take a walk or I'll do Pilates or I'll do my Tracy Anderson. And then I get in the sauna. I dry brush and I get in the sauna. So I do my infrared sauna for 30 minutes. And then for dinner, I try to eat, according to paleo. So lots of vegetables. It's really important for me to support my detox.
I did not think Gwyneth could get any more dangerous to the public, but then she posted this. What I'm hearing is that she eats nothing for breakfast, just black coffee until noon, then has bone broth for lunch, which clocks in at a measly 40 calories per cup, then does a whole hour of exercise, 30 minutes of sweating in a sauna, and then has some vegetables for dinner to support her detox. Go on. So many red flags in such a short 30-second interview. But to recap, an 18-hour fasting window is often far too long for healthy females to help support normal reproductive function. Bone broth, vegetables, and maybe some paleo protein in there, whatever the that means, is generally going to make up such a small fraction of the calories that an active woman needs to thrive. Paleo is bullshit. Nobody needs to be eating like their ancestors. There's a reason why their lifespan was a fraction of ours today. For the love of all that is holy, you do not need to detox. Your body does this naturally every day just by peeing, pooping, breathing, and sweating. This woman is going to die on the detox hill because she basically created this hysteria and is profiting off it every fucking day.
In terms of working out, I love the push of working out, but it seems as if they're putting an immense amount of pressure for people to start working out. I know for me particularly, when I was working a full 9-to-5 job, it was a struggle for me to get to the gym, but it seems as if now, if you don't go to the gym at least 5 days a week, you're not being a productive individual, according to TikTok standards. Every time I go on TikTok, it's always some new challenge, whether it's 12-3-30, and then 12-3-30 turned into 15-3-30, and then I'm seeing how to get rid of love handles and how to lose 10 pounds in a week, and if you do this trick you could lose 7 pounds in 7 days. It's always all about an immense amount of weight loss, but losing weight is something that is really heavily promoted, and it brings me back to the sheer fear of what was the early 2000s and what was considered the body standards of that time. On May 19th, 2021, a Twitter user by the name of Lucy Huber made this tweet: "If any Gen Z are wondering why every millennial woman has an eating disorder, it's because in the 2000s, a normal thing to say to a teenage girl was, when you think you feel hungry, you're actually thirsty. So just drink water and you'll be fine. Lucy came out with this tweet almost 2 years ago, and to this day, it still resonates with many. In this video, we'll be discussing how dangerous the early 2000s beauty standards were. But before we get into that, here's a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor has to be one of my favorite companies out right now, and that is Thrive Market. Thrive Market is an online membership-based grocery store on a mission to make healthy living easy and affordable for everyone with guaranteed savings on every order. With the order I received from Thrive Market, I was able to try different forms of food that I've never tried before, such as gluten-free, vegan food, and keto. As I'm trying to find a good balance between healthy and tasty, I felt with the groceries I received, I definitely received all of those requirements. I tried the rice cauliflower, which is a supplement for regular rice, which is something I thought I would never ever try before, but I paired it with some chicken that I made, and when I tell you guys, it was so delicious. It definitely was, and it felt so light on my tummy. The rice cauliflower is just one of the many ingredients that you can get at an affordable rate with Thrive Market. The annual membership is just $5 a month, or you can do the month-to-month membership for $12 a month. And believe it or not, if you find a lower price somewhere else, they will be sure to match it. But to help with more savings, Thrive Market was kind enough to give my viewers 30% off their first order and a free gift worth up to $60. Click the link in my description box so you can receive more details when you join Thrive Market today. And thank you so much, Thrive Market, for sponsoring this segment of today's video. Let's start off with number one and the harsh pressure put onto celebrities of the time. When you look back at some of the most popular childhood stars such as Lindsay Lohan, Nicole Richie, Paris Hilton, Ashley Simpson, the Olsen twins, those women were incredibly skinny. And even then, it still was not seen as enough. These young women, might I say, these impressionable young women into their 20s were constantly ridiculed in front of the public eye to the point that they went on to have eating disorders, and some of them needed to go to facilities to receive treatment. In magazines, you constantly saw celebrities being critiqued on their weight gain or constantly comparing their weight loss versus their weight gain. People like singer Jessica Simpson and actress Alicia Silverstone experienced the worst of the tabloids when it came to their weight. Jessica Simpson, who I would say was considerably petite, was always ridiculed for her size. She constantly was called overweight, she constantly was called a pig, she was called every name in the book that was insulting to a woman who was just trying to live her life.
You know, there was this the deal where people said, "Oh, Jessica Simpson's gained a lot of weight."
Remember the time that Jessica Simpson was criticized because she didn't know the difference between chicken and tuna? Those were that kind of thing is more fun to criticize than the fact that the girl's fat.
Take a look at these shots taken just last summer. She paired her Daisy Duke cutoffs with cowboy boots, and she looked totally hot. Now it looks like Jess is enjoying a whole lot of Southern cooking.
Some celebrities like Victoria Beckham and Beyonce prove that when some stars get pregnant, they don't seem to put on any weight. Then there's Jessica Simpson. Well, if Jessica wants her body back, which one is she talking about? Is she talking about the Jessica we saw in the mom jeans?
How do you feel about the Jessica Simpson weight gain?
Oh my God.
In terms of Alicia Silverstone, who was most known for her lead starring role in the movie Clueless, she was constantly body shamed by the press and the public eye. But when you look at her body at that time, she literally was a thin girl and healthy looking. Alicia went on to say that when she was in public, people would yell the most disgusting things to her about her weight. In a 2009 interview she did with MTV News, she recalled the times of being known as the fat girl in Hollywood.
I have such a sense of humor about it now because it's so, but that sucks to be a little girl running through the streets. I mean, running through the airport, like literally running away. If you could visualize it, it's so ridiculous. These really large men. I mean, and I don't mean large like tall, I mean like fat men running after me screaming fat girl. And you're like, I remember all I was so indignant about is like, look at them. And then
Did they think that would stop you, that you would turn around and be like, yes?
Well, I think they started yelling that once I was hiding in a thing, so waiting for the plane to come. So and
wow.
And they yelled nasty things like they call you their bitch, and I guess that's to get a rise out of you. But I remember thinking, what do their children think? Like, what do their children think of them? That if I wasn't fat at all, but if I'm considered fat, then what kind of example are they setting for their kids? And on top of it all, look at them. They're so unhealthy. So
being in the limelight, I can only imagine how much that could affect your mental health. Christina Aguilera was another celebrity that constantly had to deal with the mass media making fun of her because of her weight. Now, Christina's weight did fluctuate, but there were times when she was not even considered big that people would say she was. In the early 2000s, having any sign of curve to your body was weaponized and villainized. These women would be made fun of in comedy skits, tabloids, TV shows, and so many other sources if they did not have what was considered the ideal body type. And the ideal body type was literally skin and bones. And before y'all even try it, let's be for real. Y'all know I'm not talking about people that are naturally very thin. We're talking about women that had to take extreme measures to get to these thin body types that was not their body type. Things like Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers filled all over commercials, and were implementing these unhealthy beauty standards into young girls and women's heads every single day. In the movie Devil Wears Prada that came out in 2006, the lead actress Anne Hathaway was told to gain 10 pounds in order to play the lead character. After gaining those 10 pounds, she was then told to lose those 10 pounds because she could not fit in any of the clothes on the wardrobe set. Now, the movie The Devil Wears Prada, if you have not seen it, I definitely recommend watching it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But in that movie, it definitely highlighted the fashion world and how being skinny was in and being a size 6 was considered fat.
I don't know what you expect me to do.
There's nothing in this whole closet that'll fit a size 6, I can guarantee you.
These are all sample sizes, 2 and 4.
I'm rewatching The Devil Wears Prada, and I forgot how fucked up it is besides the shitty boyfriend.
Okay, you're right. I don't fit in here. I am not skinny or glamorous and...
Did they really want to make us believe that she wasn't skinny because she wore oversized clothing? And it somehow just keeps getting worse from here. The whole movie, they call her fat, and then she celebrates when she goes from a 6 to a 4.
You bet your size 6 ass.
4.
Really?
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
It's crazy that the 2000s had people believing that a size 6 was fat.
Size 6 is far from fat. And the most astounding fact to me was the fact that the character that Anne Hathaway played was supposed to be this chubby, unattractive girl. So Anne Hathaway had to gain just 10 pounds in order to be considered chubby. And if you see Anne Hathaway in 2006, that girl was skinny as ever. And the fact that they did not have clothes on set for women that were just 10 pounds more than Anne Hathaway is shocking. In the movie, they still pushed her character to be considered fat because they kept talking about how big she was and how she was a size 6 and how nobody had her size. But once again, the character in the movie was still remotely small. In the hit series on Disney Channel called That's So Raven that came out in 2003, Raven Baxter, who was played by Raven Simone, was constantly labeled as big. And if I'm being honest, when I was a kid, I thought Raven was big as well. But when rewatching the show, Raven was tiny. She was not big at all.
When I was watching this show, I knew that Raven Simone was not a plus size person or a fat person, but I kind of got the sense that maybe the network thought so because Raven was always head to toe, wrist to ankle covered in layers and layers of clothing. Stylish clothing, but still lots of layers. As an adult, Raven said that the body shaming she felt as a teenager on the Disney Channel impacted her severely, specifically her mental health. Presumably, big executives told her that she was too big to go on tour. That's right. This person right here was too big to go on tour. You nasty.
I have no idea why they kept pushing this big narrative on Raven, but I mean, if a 4-year-old, me, thought Raven was big, that means that that was already pushed in society, and that's exactly why they labeled her as big at that time. And though I'm mostly highlighting women, I also want to talk about in Wizards of Waverly Place, another Disney show. The father on Wizards of Waverly Place, who was played by David DeLuise, he constantly was being poked at for being fat, but if you look at him, yes, he is a thicker man, but he was never fat. And he even said recently in his new podcast that he felt that producers and writers kept trying to make the fat jokes and it became too much for for him.
Well, and because didn't it irritate? I kind of remember you being like, all right, can we cool it with like the fat jokes?
Oh my God, yes. I was like, how many times? Fat jokes.
Because you weren't fat.
Well, I was a little bigger than I wanted to be. So,
sure.
But I did ask that. I did say,
yeah, because it was like, it was a cheap shot. I was like, we can do better.
Yeah.
Now, these were just TV shows, but this was even reenacted in reality shows in the early 2000s. For instance, in the hit series America's Next Top Model, who we know has a long list of problems that I know you guys have asked for video, which we'll do a little bit later. But specifically, speaking about a woman that was not even close to being fat. Recently, old footage from America's Next Top Model came out with Tyra Banks and Janice Dickinson, both former models and judges on America's Next Top Model, stating that one woman named Robin Manning was bigger, and they kept coming for her weight time and time again. When this girl was not big, she was just curvy. Take a look at this.
I think for Robin, it must be hard being among girls who are so skinny.
Felt a little bit bad for Robin because she is the bigger up down here in the hips and thighs than the rest of us.
Okay, Robin?
Now, are we shooting for the large size category?
Yes, Robin would represent a plus size model. One problem that I do have with Robin, I think on the top she's not plus size, and on the bottom she is. Robin?
Robin's out as far as I'm concerned about being a supermodel.
No,
Absolutely not. This girl should not be the first one.
Well, that's my humble opinion.
Why?
Because I think next America's Top Model is not a plus size model. I'm sorry.
I just wish her upper body was bigger and matched her lower body better.
Do you have to be covered all the time? Like, why can't you want to be covered? This is saying, oh, I've got hips, so I'm covering them up. Why are you crying, Robin? Talk to me. Why are you crying?
Let's just call it as it is. Robin, first of all, is too old to be starting model.
She's huge. She's not going to be a top model.
She won't. That's the reality.
She should work for a car toppling company.
Robin is a fabulous girl, but you know what? She doesn't trust her own body.
Robin?
I don't know what she's doing in Paris.
I don't have a market here for Robin. You know, there's no market for plus sizes in France.
Robin, you were supposed to have a nude photo shoot. We don't have a photo for you this week, and why is that?
I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. My body is mine. I just didn't think that, you know, that is what I needed to do in order to get ahead.
I'm kind of disappointed that you didn't do it. I was sort of expecting this kind of, you know, Botticelli image. You know, I was sad that you just kind of didn't put yourself out there, you know, representing women of a different size.
How could she possibly be comfortable doing a shoot after you guys have called her fat the entire time and said she was a plus size model?
It's clear that Robin doesn't have the personality to be a top model. She should be working at Avis.
She is a full-figured black woman.
In the end, Robin was asked to leave.
It's meant a lot to me to be a part of this because I had the chance to show a variation of beauty.
Robin was just one of the many women who were naturally curvy that were judged insanely and called bigger than they really were back in the early 2000s. Another reality TV series that would have people appalled today is the show The Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. So the show The Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders Making the Team would highlight the process of women coming on the show to audition to be a part of the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. In order to be on the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders, you have to have a very specific physique, and they have some of the harshest rules on how a woman's body should look. Today, numerous clips have been circulating on TikTok of the coaches and judges telling these women that were very much skinny, not just skinny, fit and athletic built, being told they were too big to be on the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders.
We have very high expectations for our returning veterans, and they need to come back better every year. Veronica, we're just wanting to do a uniform check. Veronica has gained a lot of weight since her leanest year as a cheerleader, and it shows.
I'll say overall it's good, maybe about 5 to 10 pounds.
I want you to try something. We have talked to My Fit Foods. Have you heard of them? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you want to do that? We've reached out to My Fit Foods. The meals are all prepared by dietitians and chefs under a nutrition plan. So My Fit Foods maybe will help her.
You just have to eat just that, not
Carbs.
dessert.
And cheating.
Okay. You know, if we give Veronica this tool, I think she is the perfect candidate that can make a difference. Okay, Hannah? Hannah concerns me and disappoints me. I just don't think Hannah has brought us her best this season. This is where it's soft. You've gained, and it shows. Weight gain was very visible. It shows in the form of muffin tops. You are 11 pounds heavier than when you made it your first year. Listen. And you had weight warnings last season. I just wonder, why did you wait so long? And why did you show up to auditions looking like this? And now you're in training camp, and I'm not seeing any progress yet. You got your work cut out for you. If Veronica or Hannah don't lose the weight, I'll probably cut them from the squad.
I had the wonderful opportunity to speak with a woman that was on the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders show, and she got kicked off due to her being considered too stocky. Please take a look at this clip, but let me warn you, it is a bit hard to watch.
I wanted to be a DCC for quite a few years now, so I decided to try out for the team.
Number 93, Megan.
There's definitely some jitters because I wasn't in the highest physical form that I needed to be. Being called in for weight, to me, would be the worst thing. I'd rather be called in for my dance. I think that's something that can be easily fixed. It was kind of like a punch in the gut, you know? You're not expecting anyone to be called in the office tonight.
Megan?
I hope tonight's a warning. I hope it's not my last night, but you never know.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Tonight, I thought you were a heavier style dancer with our choreography. And then additionally, you kind of physically look stockier.
It's somewhat worrisome because, as she said, being stocky or being petite is not something I can fix. I can fix my dancing heavy. I can fix my hair, but I can't fix my size. So I have to just hope that my curves all curve the right way for those DCC shorts.
There's no such thing as a perfect body, but a girl can be cut if she doesn't look good in the uniform. I don't like saying that, but it is true. Hello. Hi. She's got more curve down the back of her thigh.
I do have a little bit more back there than some others.
This one looks longer than that one.
Coming into today, I was definitely a little more nervous. Kelly mentioned the other night in the office that I appeared a little bit stocky. So uniform fittings for me, I think, were a little bit more of a make it or break it. Fingers crossed.
She curves all the way to here. Today we had a little bit of thigh and butt running together, so we're calling it a thut. But she doesn't have a line, so. Yeah. Megan had a little bit of a thut. We can cover cankles with boots, but we can't cover thuts.
Problem area for me is here, and all that I can do is really run and hope that that's where it comes off. I am hopeful to drop a couple more pounds, so being leaner, that's something I can absolutely affect. Looking stocky is kind of more of a body dimension thing. So all I can do is hope that the uniform was complimentary.
Hey, Megan. We think you're a great performer and a great style dancer. I don't think our uniform fits your body. And that was kind of evident in the uniform fittings yesterday. You can't change your body, and you don't need to lose weight. You're just a stockier build for this uniform. And tonight's gonna be your last night.
You know, this is what God gave me. So, I wish you told me my dancing sucked. That would be so much easier to stomach right now.
Your dancing's good. We could play games all summer, but I don't want to do that to you.
I would hang upside down to make this team if it would make my legs longer. Well, thank you guys.
Okay, we're sorry.
It's okay. Thank you for everything.
Okay. Good night. I hate to cut the good ones.
I just didn't see this coming. It wasn't a weight thing, and it wasn't a dance thing. It was just the way I'm proportioned, and I can't change that. That's why this is just unbelievably hard to stomach.
Megan was kind enough to chat with me about her experience being on the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and just the rhetorics that were placed on dancers in the early 2000s and how it still plays a role today. In the interview, I got a lot of new information that I never heard of, and I'm very thankful that Megan spoke with me. Take a look at this interview.
I will not say who out of respect to them, but other women that were cut my season became anorexic. It was horrible. The thing, like, okay, they called me fat. I'm broken. I'm not, I'm not good enough. And that manifested itself in further eating disorders for women who already were skinny to begin with. There's a lot of bad side to when they cut people for those reasons. And, it makes me really sad to see because not everyone has still made peace with that. I'm just lucky that I have. But it's like an everyday struggle.
Yeah, that's definitely sad to see and hear. I'm honestly not surprised of that because just like with me seeing the clips, the women were so small. And you look at yourself, it makes viewers even look at themselves in the mirror and be like, if she's not considered skinny or not good enough for the uniform, what does that make me? And they're just like shaped like normal average people that maybe just don't work out or something. So it is definitely, I can definitely see that happening, and it is sad to see in general. So I guess in connection to that question and your response, are you glad to see that the show is now off air? I know it's off air due to other things that happen behind the scenes. But do you think that the show affected women and young women of the time? And do you think that it's good that it's just not on air anymore?
Yeah, I think we're going to look back at this season on TV. Bachelorette, I think, is another one that's got to go. They don't show body diversity. There's so many problems with surrounding race, body. There's just so many problems with that show. I think we're going to look back, and that'll be one that hopefully goes off air soon, too, because it's problematic for a whole other set of reasons. America's Next Top Model, DCC making the team. My fear is that they are just shopping it around to a streaming platform and that it is going to come back. Kelly doesn't take anything lying down. So while it may have seemed like it exited because of that situation with their director of PR who retired, who didn't sneak on into the locker room and peep on the cheerleaders. By the way, that happened the year that I would have made the team. So I'm sure I knew the women. I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
I've asked a lot of Cowboys cheerleaders. I don't even think closed-lipped. I just think people don't know. But it was most likely someone on the All-Star team because those girls tend to be at the stadium more for different appearances. But you don't pay someone $2.5 million because you were innocent. So while I think that was a convenient time for them to go off air, I don't think we've seen the last of them. I hope we have, but I don't think we have. But with this TikTok resurgence, I can't imagine that it's going to be met without criticism.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like this community within TikTok does put kindness first. And I hope I'm not ignorant. I'm not a super avid user, but I know I was shocked to see thousands of comments under my video, none of which were anything but supportive of me. So, for that, I'm thankful, and I hope that all of that exposure, not just from my year, but from 9 seasons prior and 5 or 6 seasons after me, that's compelling enough that people, especially mothers, don't want their daughters growing up seeing this stuff, because people who are moms are like my age. So they remember seeing me on TV, and now they've worked through their own traumas because therapy is way cooler and way more, I guess, widely acceptable to the masses than it was when this show was going on. And so I don't think it's going to be met with a lot like open arms. So I'm interested to see, but I don't know that we've seen the last of them. I've tried to kind of keep an ear out, but I'm not sure that it's over.
I kind of do agree with you. I feel like there will be some comeback, though it's not necessarily positive attention they're getting. I feel like that's going to be beneficial for them because people are going to still tune in. People like negativity, they like to see it so they can talk about it. So yeah, I can agree with you with that one. Is there anything else that you want to include in the conversation that you think is important?
I mean, obviously I'm really grateful for 3 years after I shared my journey, which was just me screen recording clips online on an online platform, editing them together however feebly I knew how, and sharing my story as a therapeutic moment for me, to then see someone call more attention to it years later, not just my story, that this was a repetitive action that was going on for years on this show, and to have open up a bigger conversation about bodies and how we idealize certain body types and how it's a trend. Like, you know, with low rise, it's just like with the rise of your jeans and your hair color and your hairstyle, it all changes. And, you know, Kim Kardashian was still very much a figure in 2014, but for whatever reason, the Cowboys are just not into that, like, curvier, thicker on the bottom build. And so a lot of really great women missed out on making, you know, their contribution to a team because of their beauty ideals being, in my eyes, very skewed. And now I feel like myself and so many others before me story is being told on TikTok now. And I would just say I hope that that brings awareness to the problem and makes people more mindful. A part of this, when we have trauma surrounding our body, whether it's a boyfriend, a parent, a dance teacher, a coach, whoever, and it's male and female, when those things happen, our judgment of others tends to be more critical, because that's kind of our like fight or flight, how we defend ourselves or make peace with feeling judged ourselves. And something that I really strive for, and just sharing, you know, openly, that I hope helps other people, is be really mindful, not just of your words, not just of what you write on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Be mindful of your thoughts, because it really starts there. And something that I noticed that I'll speak openly about, I'm embarrassed, but I'm doing, you know, I'm striving every day to be better about, is that I used to walk into a room, and because I was always put on a scale, judged, and criticized publicly for my weight, whether it was on the Bucks, the Magic, the Cowboys, I would walk into a room and see a woman who had gained or lost weight. And if she had lost weight, I would commend her. And if she had gained weight, I'd be silent, but I'd think, ooh, she gained a lot of weight. And then on the flip side, after you gain, your body rebounds, and you're going through making peace with your own judgments that are now on national TV. And you're horrified of what people are going to say about you, because they saw the way you looked at your absolute skinniest. And now you know that you no longer look like that. You walk into a room, and all you can think is, everybody is looking at me thinking, ooh, she gained that weight. Ooh, she's not as hot as she used to be. She's not as sexy. She let herself go. And I think that's a shame that mothers carry. I think that's a shame that men and women carry. And whoever has had trauma with their body, that is usually part of the trauma afterwards, is that you both judge others, but you also fear judgment. And so I just would say that being kinder with your thoughts is not just kinder with your thoughts towards others. It is that, but it's also kinder towards your thoughts to yourself, because if you're not kinder into your thoughts with yourself, then that also manifests in an outward expression of, you know, things that aren't productive and aren't helpful. So I would just say to anyone who this resonated with, that's my journey. That's how I've dealt with it. And I wish everyone like healing and peace, because we are living in a society where people are more supportive, and we can all applaud and be really excited about that. But also we can always do better. So just being really mindful.
I'm so glad that Megan is now in a better place than she was when she did get kicked off of the team, despite her being talented, and it was just due to her build that she can't control. It made me happy that she's now a body positivity advocate and fights for people that are going through the same struggles. So like I said, this was not just a problem that was seen in movies and TV shows. It affected women in real time, where they were embarrassed and humiliated on live television, but then also also among critics that did not see issues with how things were handled. And just a word of advice for all my women that may be struggling with their weight, or they don't feel confident, or they feel like they're also being influenced by TikTok and this whole wellness push. Just know you're beautiful just the way you are. If there are goals you want to meet in terms of weight loss or just gaining muscle, that is absolutely okay. But please reach those goals on your own body type. We all have different body types. We cannot control how one person is built versus another. Some people are more blessed in the booty department and some people are more blessed in the flat tummy department naturally. That's what makes us all beautiful, is the uniqueness that comes in each and every single one of us. The pressures of being a woman is already very intense. I don't think that we should be adding more pressures onto ourselves in order to attain this level of beauty that is constantly going to change. Be confident in you, love you, please remain healthy as well, and don't let society dictate what is considered beautiful. And you're beautiful just the way you are. Just the way you are.
You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. Good night, Katie.
But y'all, that is the end of today's video. I of course want to know what you guys think in the comments down below in terms of the early 2000s beauty standards and how you think it's affecting us today. Do you think the beauty standards of the early 2000s will be making a comeback, or do you think it was just way too extreme back then and it won't affect us now? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much Thrive Market for sponsoring this video. I appreciate it so much. If you guys like this video, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will see you all in my very next video. Love you guys. Bye. Mwah.
Taking you in this moment, come get close like you own name. Read your aura, you want more of all this love, you'll be your name. Release all of